Good morning. Good morning, April. Emma's cheerful voice rang out, filling the kitchen with warmth and joy. I was standing by the stove, flipping blueberry pancakes while the early morning sun spilled through the window. The golden light made everything feel soft and peaceful, at least on the surface. I turned around to see Emma walking into the kitchen in her pink pajamas. She was rubbing her sleepy eyes and dragging her stuffed bunny by one arm. Her little feet padded across the wooden floor as she yawned and stretched. Outside, the trees lining Maplewood Street were just starting to turn red and orange. Autumn had come gently this year. "Good morning, sweetheart," I said, smiling. "We're having blueberry pancakes today, your favorite." "Yay!" Emma's eyes lit up, and she gave a happy little jump. "I love blueberry pancakes." Her joy filled the room, chasing away the quiet tension I'd been carrying. I placed the plate of pancakes on the table next to Michael's usual spot. His coffee was already poured, though I wasn't sure when, or if, he'd drink it. Michael had been coming home late these days. He claimed it was work, urgent projects, unexpected meetings, but something about him felt off. He'd sit in silence at dinner, glancing at his phone every few minutes, his face tight with stress. He hadn't smiled in weeks. I didn't have time to dwell on it. My own job as a pediatrician at Northwestern Memorial Hospital kept me busy. Every day, I was making tough decisions, caring for sick children, comforting anxious parents. Still, no matter how hectic things got, I always made sure to take Emma to daycare and pick her up afterward. It had become a part of our daily rhythm, something solid and grounding. Meanwhile, my younger sister Caitlin had grown more distant. She was supposed to help with Emma's care, but her excuses were endless. "I'm swamped with freelance work," she'd say. "It's important to build your career when you're young." That was her favorite line. She still had time for weekend brunches and trips with friends, though, and our parents, they always took her side. Ever since Caitlin's divorce, they treated her like she was made of glass, like the smallest thing might break her. They used to say, "She's been through so much," as if that gave her a free pass to be careless. But what about Emma? Who was thinking about her? I sighed as I loaded the dishwasher. The morning sun felt a little colder now. Later, I drove Emma to daycare in my Tesla Model Y. We passed rows of tall trees, their leaves fluttering like flames in the breeze. The street looked like something out of a painting, calm, quiet, and perfect, but the silence inside the car made me feel strangely uneasy. In the rearview mirror, I glanced at Emma sitting in her booster seat, flipping through a Bright Horizons picture book. Her small fingers traced the drawings on the page, her lips quietly sounding out the words. Sometimes, watching her like this, I imagined we were truly mother and daughter. It was a sweet thought, a comforting one, but somewhere in my heart, it also felt like a quiet warning. "April, are you picking me up again today?" Emma asked softly. "Of course I am, but what did Mommy say?" "She said she has work. She said she'll be late, again." I bit my lip and gave her a gentle smile in the mirror. "Okay, then, I'll be there." It was the same story as yesterday, and the day before. Last week it was a lunch date, the week before that, a hair appointment. Every time, the excuse changed, but the result didn't. Emma was always left waiting, and I was always the one who stepped in. That evening, just as I was wrapping up a meeting at the hospital, my phone rang. It was Caitlin. I could hear the bustle of an airport or a train station in the background, rolling suitcases, loudspeaker announcements, and people talking. "Hey, sorry to bother you," she said, her voice sweet but hurried. I knew that tone. She used it whenever she wanted something. "I just got a last-minute assignment," she continued. "It's really important, a design project with a new client. I need to be out of town for about a week. Can you watch Emma?" "What?" I asked, confused. "A whole week? I really can't say no to this. It's a huge opportunity, please." I could hear her zipping a suitcase and moving quickly. "What about Mom and Dad? Can't they help?" "They're busy too. They've got dinner plans with friends," I already asked. I frowned. Lately, Mom and Dad had been avoiding family brunches and group calls. It was like they were slipping away, little by little. "Sorry again, April. You're the only one I can count on. Thanks." Before I could respond, she hung up. I stood there, staring at my phone, feeling a strange hollowness in my chest. My heart told me something wasn't right. Everyone in the family was acting odd, distant, distracted. Then I got a message from Michael. He said he'd be working late again, another meeting at his Michigan Avenue office. I looked out the window. The city lights were coming on, glowing against the soft twilight sky. I tried to shake off the feeling in my chest. Maybe it was just a busy season, maybe I was overthinking. But deep inside, something told me that things were about to change, that this week wouldn't be as ordinary as I hoped. Still, when I picked up Emma from daycare that night and saw her run into my arms with her sweet smile, the heaviness in my heart lifted a little. I hugged her tightly. No matter what happened, I would protect her. Emergency care, emergency, the daycare worker said gently, her voice calm but serious. We'll take good care of her until her mother arrives. At those words, I had to close my eyes for a moment. The truth stung more than I expected. Emma's real mother, my younger sister Caitlin, wasn't coming right now. She was lying in a hospital bed on a different floor, injured and silent. I didn't know when she'd wake up properly, or if she would even be able to explain herself fully. I slowly reached into the pocket of my white doctor's coat and pulled out the drawing Emma had given me that morning. She'd been so proud of it. Crayons on thick paper, bright and colorful, it showed her whole family holding hands, her mommy, her daddy, even her grandparents. Everyone was smiling. But I wasn't in it. Not even in the background. Everything had been planned out without me, the trip to Disneyland. The new family they were quietly building. A future where I didn't belong. Back upstairs, I returned to Caitlin's hospital room. She was sitting up slightly, her face pale and her arm wrapped in white bandages. The harsh lights above made everything feel colder. Her eyes were red from crying. When she saw me come in, she started to speak, her voice shaking. Please listen. She winced as she shifted in the bed. The pain made her flinch, but she still continued. Remember that Christmas party, 2 years ago, the one with all the company people, and the big catering from Gibson's? She said, that's when it started, me and Michael. The memory hit me like a wave, the room full of people, the laughter and music, Caitlin and Michael standing alone in the kitchen, talking. I'd walked past them, not thinking anything of it. Or maybe I didn't want to think anything of it. Caitlin kept talking, tears slipping down her face. I was really sad after the divorce. I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt lost. Michael, he listened to me. He understood me. He said things you never said. He told me I was strong, beautiful, that I mattered. She looked at me, waiting for a reaction. I turned away and stared at the rain falling softly against the window. I thought about my wedding day, how Caitlin had smiled so brightly as my maid of honor, how she hugged me, told me how happy she was for me. Was all of that fake? Caitlin's voice cracked. We started meeting in secret, once a week, then more. He said he'd never felt real love until me. I couldn't stay silent anymore. My words came out like ice. What about Emma? Did you ever think about how she would feel? Did either of you? Caitlin went quiet. The only sound in the room was the soft beeping of machines and the slow drip of her four. I stepped closer, my voice sharper now. And Mom and Dad, did they know? She hesitated, then looked down at her blanket. They found out last year. Dad saw us together. He was angry at first, really angry. But Mom, she said she understood. She said maybe it was meant to be. They told us to be careful, to keep things quiet, for now. The hallway outside was quiet except for the sound of a wheelchair passing by. A nurse's soft voice echoed down the corridor. That's enough, I said. I didn't want to hear more. I didn't need any more lies. Suddenly, it all made sense. The way my parents had been avoiding me, the way they defended Caitlin no matter what, Michael's strange mood swings, the reason I had ended up doing more and more of Emma's care. Everything, they had all known, and they had all lied. Sis, Caitlin whispered, please, forgive me. I didn't respond. I turned to leave. That was when a young nurse stepped into the room, looking hesitant. Your parents asked to see you, she said softly. They've finished their treatment. In the treatment room, my parents sat on a bench, looking tired and small. My father had a small bandage on his forehead. My mother's arm was in a sling. Two people I had looked up to my whole life. Now they couldn't even meet my eyes. April, please listen, my father said. His voice was weak, a whisper of the strict teacher I had once known. We didn't mean to hurt you. My mother wiped her tears with a tissue, her hands shaking. Your sister was hurting so much after the divorce. She cried every night. We thought if we supported her, she'd heal. We didn't expect this to happen with Michael. We said no at first, but then. I cut in, my voice sharp and cold. So you decided it was okay to hurt me instead? My mother let out a sob. You're strong, April, you've always been so capable, you're a doctor, you have your life together. Because I'm strong? I let out a bitter laugh. That's your excuse, that's why you all lied to me for years. All those mornings, the lunches I packed, the bedtime stories I read, the times Emma cried and I held her close while Caitlin was too busy. It was never just kindness. It was because they needed me to keep the lie going. My voice shook now. You used me, all of you. And with that, I left them sitting in their silence. Late that night, I entered the ICU room where Michael had just woken up. His face was pale under the oxygen mask. The monitor beeped quietly, showing that his vitals were stable. April, he whispered, his voice barely audible, please. I want to explain everything about Caitlin. There's nothing left to explain, I said, standing tall at the foot of the bed. I wasn't here as his wife, I was here as a doctor. I checked his pulse, his blood pressure, his breathing, all routine. I didn't let my hands shake. He reached for me. Let's start over, for Emma's sake, for our family. I looked him straight in the eyes. For Emma's sake, I said slowly, you were building a family without me, a trip to Disneyland, a perfect little picture. Where was Emma's real family in all of that? Where was I? He had no answer. I left the room. In the elevator, I pulled out my phone. I had already bookmarked the contact info for the best divorce attorney in Chicago, a woman known for standing up for betrayed wives. First thing in the morning, I'd call her. And then I'd make another call, to George Watson, Michael's father, the head of the powerful construction firm, a man known for discipline and family values. He needed to know everything, the affair, the lies, Emma's situation, the family his son had tried to destroy. That night, I returned to the childcare floor where Emma was sleeping. She was curled up under a blanket, hugging her bunny. I sat beside her and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, then I leaned down and kissed her cheek. It's okay now, I whispered, I'll protect you, no matter what. Tomorrow, we would start a new life. The world we lived in yesterday was gone. But this time, we would be free.